This is part 2 of my testimony as a presidential candidate in the 2024 election. And what I can tell you is it is not acceptable for the Democrats and Republicans to hold elections and to use federal funds to hold elections and to use federal funds and federal property to hold elections for their private election use. What I mean is primaries. So not every party is recognized by the state and therefore they can't participate in primaries and sometimes not even in the actual election. But the two big political parties get to say, for some reason, they seem to think they own the country. They get to say who's a political party and who's not, which one's recognized and which ones aren't. And then they also get to get money from the federal government to hold their primary elections. This is unacceptable. That should not be. And they should not be allowed to use the U.S. taxpayers' money to hold their primary election. They are just a group of people who believe in a certain concept. It's just a political part. It's just a group of people in a club. It's like a club. And so, if you're in the local men's club or women's club of your town, you don't have a right to get money to just host something. It's just not acceptable. And you don't get a right to use taxpayers' money for your use. I'm sorry. So this is what we're talking about. Democrats and Republicans, they're just clubs of people who are like-minded, but yet they feel like they own the country, and they've manipulated the laws where they are manipulating us and using our taxpayer money for their benefit. So they have a convention. They don't need a primary. Their decision is made at the convention, not at the primary. And if they want to have their own primary, then they do it at some other place, not with federal machinery. I mean, I don't like computers anyways. We need to move back to paper ballots. But they don't have a right to use federal paper, federal time and effort. It's just not acceptable. They're stealing from you and me and all of us for their own beliefs. It's like, I used to go to nightclubs in New York, and there were these guys at the front door who would say, okay, you can come in and you can come in and you can come in, but who gave them that power to say who can come in and who can't? And this is what it is. It's like a New York City nightclub where they've got people there pointing their fingers and being prejudiced. No, we don't want you. You don't look right. And I think we're beyond New York City nightclubs now. We don't need this. You need to stop using federal money and federal equipment and employees. You cannot do that for your private Democrat and Republican, Green Party and Libertarian Party primaries. It's unacceptable. Primaries are private. You go into your little club houses and you decide on your own money that you got from your people. You spend that to figure out who you want to be president and who you want to do whatever. And then you have your conventions. You can also decide that at the convention. That's actually what a convention is for. And then you go forward. The way things have been done this year and in the past years is unacceptable. I don't want my money going for you to decide who is going to be the top Democrat and who's going to be the top Republican and the top Green Party and the top Libertarian. Because you're not including the Tea Party, you're not including the Constitution Party, you're not including the Socialist Party, you're not including any of the other parties that we have out there. So it's just unacceptable. You're stealing money, basically. You're stealing money. And it's unacceptable. So I know that in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia somewhere, this happened to a friend of mine who walked in the door to vote for the first time in a primary, and because he was not in a party, but he was a U.S. citizen, the primary was closed to him. He could not vote. He could not have any say, but yet his money, his taxpayer money, was being used for that election, but he was not invited to vote. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Illegal fraud, manipulation. Traitors. Democrats and Republicans, shame on you. Shame on you. Also, the Green Party was apparently there, and the Libertarian, but because he was not in a party, he could not vote. He could not exercise his U.S. citizen right to vote in an election where money from his taxes, his money from his government was being spent. His state and his federal money was being spent, and he was told, no, sorry, citizens are not allowed. You have to be in a party. Since when do we belong to the Democrats and the Republicans? I mean, the Green Party and Libertarian Party was also included, and there are some bad agents in those two parties too. They are there just to pretend like we have a choice, but they've never had any position of importance. No Green Party, no Libertarian has ever been in charge of an election. None of them have ever been a governor or a secretary of state or any major political position. Only Democrats and Republicans. So, folks, we got problems in this country. We got a lot of illegal people running it who block out other people's votes, who stop citizens from receiving their rights. The 14th Amendment clearly states no state has a right to do that. So where is the justice? When do we see the U.S. living up to its Constitution? When do we see the states living constitutionally and working constitutionally for once? Because I don't think they ever have. You know, there's a long list of things that the Democrats and Republicans have done over the years to disenfranchise, to discriminate against people of all colors, all ages and genders, and it is not acceptable. Unacceptable, period. It's not my USA. It's just not my USA. And as president, I will change this. But sadly, I was a write-in candidate. So the chance of me having any say is close to zero. But anyways, I'm trying. And this is what I have to say. So this was part 2 of my testimony about the fraud in the system, election system. Bye for now.